Hey guys, James here again. This made with Luffy had every single Kimyo power. Now, Kimyo's come from the webcomic Ordeal by Brent Gray or Brent Bristol. I've seen like one place say Brent Gray, then another place Brent Bristol, but yeah. So the webcomic is pretty good. As far as for the power systems, I'd say it's like MHA, but more mixed up. Like Kimyo's are race people that have superpowers, or instead of being called quirks, if I use an MJ comparison, they're called talents. And with this, these are like the different types of talents. This is the list of them. A control talent, granting control over things. Corroding, being corroding or erasing things using your talent. Creating things using your talents. Having control over elements with your talent. Moving faster with your talent. Then there's a hide, which allows you to have like a rhino hide, a boar hide, that kind of stuff. That kind of talent. So kind of like an armor hide. There's a kinesis hide, like blade generation. There's a power hide, which just increases your raw power output. A psychic hide, be it psychic blasts in a sense. Then there's a range control talent. Then there's a range talent, a shifting talent, a transformation or state talent, a support talent, a toxic talent, a void talent, and a warp talent. Those are all the kinds of them. So yeah. And I do recommend you read Ordeal on Webtoon. It's amazing. I'm pretty sure season 2... I'm pretty sure season 2 just came out, and there's a decent amount of episodes on there. So yeah, I greatly recommend it. So yeah. Now in this one, I forgot to put one thing. Yeah, so in this one, Kimyos are basically a race that evolved on a different planet, then came to Earth. Just the fact that they were running out of resources on their planet. And they're able to live a long time and thrive off almost nothing. It's just that their planet was literally ran out of water, ran out of food, ran out of almost everything. But as the numbers began dwindling, the strongest Kimyos began infusing their powers throughout the generation, starting on their home planet, all the way down to Earth. And last Kimyo, being Luffy's mother, would infuse all the power that she could into her son, and Dragon would never know if Luffy's mother was alive or if she was dead. But she is gone. Doesn't know if she's on Earth, if she's on heaven, she's in hell, or if she's on a different planet. He may never know. But all he knows is that Luffy inherited a large array of powers. But Luffy is born 1 year before Roger's death, so that makes Luffy 25 years old post-time skip, because the main character of Ordeal, Che, is 25 years old. And Luffy is actually 8'2" at his maximum height in the story right now. So, yeah. I'm going to go over all Luffy's Kimyo powers. So, yeah. So, 1. He can just share powers permanently, which would actually decrease his life force. But, he also do it temporarily, which would just make him tired for a few days. Like he'll be really tired or just pass out for a few days on end. So, yeah. He has natural super strength, speed, durability, and agility. So just a natural feat of his. He can control water from a source or just generate it from his body. He has bone extension, which allows him to shoot his bones out, kind of like Baraka from Mortal Kombat, or let me find the guy. Kind of like this guy from X-Men. That's basically Luffy's whole bone power. Kind of like him from X-Men. So yeah. And Luffy has another power that's basically just a creation type talent. And what happens is, well, metal's kind of like imbued into his body, and he can create anything out of said metal, be it a blade, a shield, armor, etc. And there's a power that allows him to emit red string, kind of like the Ito Ito no Mi. So, yeah, basically he has the Ito Ito no Mi, but yeah, that's about it. Ito Ito no Mi is just that he can't make a clone of himself out of it. So, kind of a lightly toned down Ito Ito no Mi. Then Luffy has Boar Hide, which is one of his more offensive hides. It gives one of his more defensive hides and gives him tusks. Oh, but like it's more or less not like a specific one, but it has a decent balance of defense and offense. But compared to his other hides, it's very low in comparison. There's a rhino hide that has like a horn on it and everything. The horn is shaped like a knife though. But this hide is focused solely on defense, and it's decently slow though, or pretty slow. But because of Luffy's many other powers, no matter what hide he has, he will move insanely fast. So yeah. Then there's the shark hide that gives Luffy, it's not really a shark hide. More or less, he has a power that makes him look like a shark. But then he kind of just uses some other hides combined on small degrees to make him look like a shark that will amp his power. So it's kind of called like shark fusion. So yeah. There's lion hide, which is mainly focused on offense. And kind of like how the rhino hides focus straight on defense, but has an okay offensive capability with its horn. Lion hide's completely opposite, where it has okay defense for its hide, but its power for claws and everything is through the roof. And Luffy has a leopard hide, which is very similar to the lion hide. It shows that Luffy has a bit more versatility on different types of land. And there's a hyena hide, which does amp Luffy's bloodlust. So yeah. And then he has blacksmith hide, which allows him to fuse all of his hides together, which gives him a really ultimate defense. It just makes him really tired as well. So yeah. He has a talent called muscle spikes, or just porcupine, which basically his muscles shoot out as spikes, making quills. So yeah. Then he has appendage blades, which basically, he can kind of just create blades from his bodies. Like it looks like something starts growing on him. That black substance would grow into a kind of like a scythe or a sword or a katana or a whip. It'd grow like that. There's really no specific name for this talent. There's a Kirin talent that Luffy has like a red aura instead of a green aura like Akam usually has from the story. Luffy's aura of it would be red, and enhances his speed and his agility and his reflexes greatly. And using the velocity and mass, Luffy does have enhanced force. The fact that he just has different angles to hit from at really good angles as well. So yeah. Then he has a talent called Ilios, not Helios, where he shoots out a large amount of flames, and the flames can burn off some of his skin as well, but it's like small fragments of it, and the flames are really hot as well. Also, if you have any current like injuries and you're not using Ilios, you can use Ilios' flames and heal your body. So, yeah. Not others, though, unless you're like cauterizing a wound from them. But yeah, also doesn't do have like decent physical enhancements. And it's also really good for flight and mobility. So, yeah. And you can also kind of coat like a sword in flames and such, as you see with Che on the cover, where his hair's on fire, then and all that. You can coat things in flames. There's a talent called Image Fusion, but only time we've seen the talent used is just to make clones. So that talent is just cloning, cloning the user or whatever they have on them. So yeah, there's Blood Amp, which is what Luffy would use in tandem with his Shark Fusion hide, which would basically his Blood Amp. If he smells or tastes blood, it amps his power and his bloodlust. But using a Shark Fusion hide, it amps his power completely. It kind of makes Luffy like a raged out monster. So yeah. So yeah, he doesn't use that too much though. There's Ash Control, which is actually made up of the burned corpses of all the Kimyos. If Kimyos have given their power, then their bodies are burned, turned into ash. And Luffy has the ashes of billions of, dead Kimyos. And the ashes can be used to mold, or he can just create ash from his body, mold it, or can just mold the ash into anything he wants to, into a blockade, a hand, whatever he wants to, really. There's another talent called Achilles that makes his skin, organs, and bones like steel, and also additionally makes him bomb-proof, which is really good for him. And decent amount of physical enhancements. Then there's the Thanatos power, which allows Luffy to absorb souls, insert souls, raise the dead, or inserting souls into the dead to raise the dead. And then he can also emit psychic blasts. So, yeah, or shields. There's another talent that's unnamed, but Luffy can turn turn one of his arms into wood and grow flowers or trees from it. So yeah, basically makes him Hashirama in a single fingertip. So yeah. Then there's another talent called Kong, which allows Luffy to turn into kind of like a mimicry of Sun Wukong. Like his skin turns red, he grows fur, all that. He can also turn into a staff that can extend great distances, and it can be wielded by other people, or you should have to generate a staff out of a miniature Kong he can summon, and this miniature Kong listens and hears everything, but also decently intelligent. So It's kind of also like an advisor for him. There's foresight, which allows Luffy to see from seconds to maybe even years into the future. So it can be good for a long run or straight up immediate battle. So, yeah. Talent called Endless Storage, where Luffy can basically open his mouth, kind of like a giant chest. Like he'll grab his jaw, pull down, and open it around 3 feet, and it can store endless things in there. But he has to say endless storage, or else he's just opening his mouth to an unholy degree and breaking it. So yeah. Then he has another talent called Weapon Mastery, where the Weapon Mastery will let him hold a weapon for a few seconds, maybe even a minute, and he'll master it completely without even needing to swing it around. And he has 2 swords, or 2 weapons. One of them being katana that Luffy can use to generate a full set of armor, or just use it as a blade itself. But then 2 axes that are called Ace Gear, which Luffy can like as soon as they hit their intended target, a lightning bolt will strike down on that target on the axe blades. So yeah. Another talent, Katagira, I believe. Katagira. And it basically just makes you Zeus. Throw lightning bolts, hurl lightning bolts, storm control, thunder control, etc. And there's Okeanos, which makes you Poseidon. You can control water, but on a higher scale. You can breathe underwater. You can talk to sea animals, that kind of stuff. Also, you do have like somewhat fish-like traits, as I believe the next person we saw with the Okeanos power, he had a very fish-like torso. I don't know if that was like fish-like armor or that was actually his body. But if that was his body, and this was the thing, what if Luffy can grow gills on anywhere on his body as long as they're exposed when he's in the water? So yeah. There's a talent Luffy has that if he has a tattoo, he can throw them off a certain amount of times and they explode, but then he has to get the tattoo redone if he throws them off too many times. His tattoos are just Ace, Sabo, Garp, and those are like his 3 tattoos, are ASG. So, yeah. Well, ASGS, Shanks. So, yeah. And then when he's old enough, or when he meets his crew, he'll get all their names, like he'll get like letters of their name tattooed on like his back. Then like on his chest will be the Straw Jolly Roger. So, yeah. But it'll be only tattooed in sections so he can throw it off at like certain parts. Yeah. And there's another talent called Anu Ankh, which basically Luffy can transform into somewhat of he can transform into Anubis. He can let out energy blasts, blue ones. He can like partially transform, makes like an armor around whatever part of his body partially transformed. And he has naturally enhanced physical power. There's Breath of the Wind, or Breath of Kai, which is the person who used it was very ambiguous because they created a wind storm, but also their hair glowed golden, so I couldn't tell if that was light or wind. But because of the wind storm, I'm assuming it was a wind talent. So yeah, Luffy can create wind storms now. And there's a talent called what was the name of it? Hold up. It's called Kaiketsu, or Enhanced Brain. It makes his brain move 2 times faster, his brain processes things and learns 2 times faster than an average human. But also, because in the One Piece version, make it a bit overpowered, Luffy basically has Vegapunk's brain where he stores all the knowledge he ever learns. He can never forget anything he learns, making Luffy pretty proficient in anything he wants to. He had weapons. Like Luffy would have never held a weapon, but when he sees it, he'll know how to use it properly because he's read about it. He'll pick it up straightly and like, oh, sword, got it, and just uses it. Or gun, pick it up, I can use it. That kind of stuff. So yeah. Then Luffy has a state-like talent where he can emit a green aura or his calm aura that allows him to teleport. He can emit a red aura called Wrath that enhances his physical stats. He can emit a blue aura that just gives him uncontrollable tears because he's throwing a tantrum. And then there's a black aura which has an unknown emotion, but he's like a shepherd and humans are his sheep. But he doesn't really use Wrath or Shepherd too much. There's tentacles where he can turn arms into tentacles that can slam or grab people. Or pin people, whatever. And there's a wind pressure talent that allows him to mold wind or air pressure into the sword, into bullets, etc. Those are all the powers of Luffy. Or talents. the series turns out to be parts, I will update this shortly. But yeah. So Luffy meets Shanks when he is roughly around 15 years old. And Luffy basically settled the Great Terminal, and at this point, Luffy had to turn the Great Terminal into a small town. It's kind of flourishing. He supplied them with enough weapons to chase off guys like Blue Jam and Higuma, so they're gone. Donald and the bandits don't have anyone to rob, so they're not really bandits. They're more just civilians living out in the woods. Yeah, Luffy kind of just brought peace to Dawn Island. And Shanks hears about some man, as he's there, Makino tells a story of someone who brought peace to all of Dawn Island. Shanks says, I wish to meet him someday. Makino points down at the bar to a sleeping Luffy, who has multiple cups of orange juice in front of him, with half of a club of meat in his mouth. Shanks looks at him, saying, "Who's that?" And Makino says, "The one who brought peace." Shanks says, "He's a kid." Makino says, "Actually, he's 15 years old. But yeah, he brought peace to us." Shanks like, "How? Him, peace, how?" And Makino just says, "Simple. She pulled Shanks in close and whispering in his ear, saying, he's part of an extinct race called Kimyos. He's the last of his kind. Because he's the last of his kind, they have a tradition of inserting all their powers that they can into this one being. Luffy has all their powers, and using all their powers, he brought peace to this island." Shanks was like, "Huh? Really?" Now, one thing I want to point out, I believe in the webcomic, it is said that forcefully transferring powers can be deadly, and having more than one may be deadly as well. Taking the powers are actually willing, they willingly take in the power, but also they can be somewhat repaired as the power. They're a ritual to keep themselves alive as they take in power. But only the strongest get the power. That's why they survive most of the time, is they're the strongest. But yeah. And Shanks basically just says, he wants to see how strong Luffy is. As Luffy ends up waking up Luffy. He actually has to fight him, and Luffy agreed. Luffy could already tell that Shanks was strong. He saw it in the fight where Luffy already knew he would lose. And he should have just told Shanks that this is going to be a losing battle, so he'll get ready. And Luffy basically ended up opening his mouth, or first said, "Armor giving blade, Ateru." Then he pulled his mouth open, as Shanks would see basically just a giant kind of portal. Luffy pulled out Ateru, and ended up kind of striking his pose as his flames burned his shirt off immediately. But Luffy just yelled, "Blacksmith hide," as he charged forward at top speeds using his Kyrian power or talent in tandem, making him move insanely fast. Well, Shanks even had to go all out to keep up with Luffy, even using Haki at some points to even dodge attacks from Luffy. Because Luffy is basically using every single speed talent he can muster, along with his very weird hide. So yeah. Also, Shanks hits Luffy wrong and makes it crack. Ilios flames will shoot from the crack and fix it and burn Shanks. But eventually Shanks is able to dodge one of Luffy's strikes, leaving an opening, and Luffy just was like, "Oh, this is where I lost." Shanks punched Luffy in the face using army Haki, sending Luffy flying, and break Luffy's hide immediately, leaving a very rigid scar under Luffy's eye. Luffy's unconscious, and Makino for the first time would see Luffy lose, which is very shocking to her. Luffy seems like a very strong man. So yeah. But Shanks ended up putting a straw hat down Luffy's chest, telling him, "You can bring peace to one island at 15. Bring peace to the world soon. Or at least bring peace to the world before you reach my age." Shanks ends up getting up and leaves. So yeah. Luffy woke up around 2 hours later with Shanks gone, but he has a straw hat now and his scar is all stitched up by Makino. And he emitted flames from the still somewhat open wound, and it made it kind of like quote unquote symmetrical, but still his scar is very much lined up now, giving it the same appearance as before, as canon basically. So yeah. He walked into the woods as he saw Ace and Sabo, and they're ready for training. So yeah. So with this, we go on to now probably just maybe Luffy's 15 right now, but also Ace and Sabo would be ready because Luffy has been training. He's been training Ace since Ace was 7 years old, or since he was 5 years old actually. He was training Sabo since Sabo was around 9 years old, but Sabo's ready. So Luffy would leave around a year later. No, he actually no he leaves properly when he's 17. So he leaves 2 years later. But Luffy would leave 2 years later simply to gather technology to build a great ship. Luffy goes all the way through the east, the south, the Grand Line, all the way till he had finally reached Galila, I guess. When you reach Galila, they say Luffy's ship is gigantic, and he simply says he wants the greatest shipwrights here to help him finish the build. Galila almost cried with joy, saying, "We would be honored to work on such a fine vessel." Iceberg saw it and heard what Luffy said, and Frankie simply says, "Iceberg, if you don't let me work on this, I will burn this island to the ground. God help me." And Iceberg says, "I'd be mad if you didn't help." As they run to the boat, and fast forward around probably a month later, Luffy's ship is 470 feet in length, 225 in width, and Luffy had named the ship Leo. Leo basically acts as Alexa combined with Google Maps, I would say. So yeah. But the thing is that the Google Maps is only where on islands that Luffy is jotted down like a piece of paper and inserted into Leo, and Leo was like, "Oh, turn northeast and go northeast for one day, and you'll reach so and so island." So yeah, it's kind of stuff that Leo does. Luffy eventually kind of went around more, gathering more and more knowledge for power and such, basically becoming the next Vegapunk. So yeah. It was only by accident he does stumble upon his dad's island, being what was it called? Baltigo. He stumbled upon Baltigo by accident. When he arrived, they're ready to fight till Dragon recognized who it was, saying, "Everyone stand down," as he was saying his head into the air. He goes, "Oh." He looks down at the Dragon, saying, "Hey, Dad." And everyone just froze, and immediately Ivankov was like, "Dragon, did that guy just call you Dad?" Dragon says, "Long story," and yes, he did. We dropped down for saying, "No, it's not long story. You banged a Kimyo, and here I am." And Dragon says, Shorter story than imagined, but still. Why are you here?" He goes, "Oh, I'm just taking Leo for a spin, and I ended up here by accident. My bad. I must have hit burst too hard." So yeah. And immediately Bad Dragon's like, "Burst?" He goes, "Oh yeah, burst. I kind of like a system where I just push a ton of flames into it. I push a ton of flames, ton of energy, ton of lightning, ton of water, anything that I can muster into this, and those have a giant burst. I must have gone flying too far, because I am nowhere near Water 7 anymore. Everyone's just dropped that Luffy was supposed to be in Water 7, and now he's here." Luffy says, probably like an hour ago, I was at Water 7. Immediately, kind of Dragon chuckled, saying, all right, who cares? Come inside." Luffy would hang out with everyone inside and get to know them. He even learned Ivan's Death Link for fun, actually. But he found Kuma, and Luffy actually offered to make Kuma a few powers. And Kuma was like, "What do you mean make me a few powers?" He goes, "Simple. I can modify you." "Well, yeah, I can modify anyone. Your body is just different, so it'd be easier to modify." Kuma says, "Describe modify." He goes, "Well, I have a talent called Achilles. I can somewhat replicate it and give you that power, but also giving you the actual power." This confused Kuma until Luffy ended up kind of doing surgery on Kuma, kind of just removing every inch of him, and besides the bones and down, making Kuma's bones virtually, about as durable as sea stone, actually infusing a bit of sea stone into it. But it doesn't cancel out Kuma's devil fruit, but instead it makes his devil fruit stronger, giving Kuma's devil fruit a canceling effect, to the point where instead of reflecting attacks from devil fruit, he straight up just negates them. Even if they're infused with Haki, they're gone. Kuma does realize this and says, "What did you do?" He says, I made your devil fruit stronger, but made your body stronger as well. Additional power, you're immune to explosives." He says, "What do you mean I'm immune to explosives?" He says, "Like this." He tossed Kuma a thing of dynamite, Kuma caught it, and then it just blew up in his hands. He says, "See? No damage. Inside your jacket." Kuma says, I have many of these. Luffy nods, saying, yeah, well, if anyone else wants enhancements, I'll be docked here for a while. Leo, submerge. Leo submerges Luffy, just kind of just backflip into the ocean, and immediately Dragon just says, we could use him. And yeah, we fast forward with Luffy being on Baltigo for a long time, doing enhancements to the revolutionary, selling the technology as he makes it, and even breaking people out of Impel Down from time to time. So yeah. The point where Luffy kind of like the whole time Luffy's there, he even like, I already know a guy who would join you guys. Give me a second. He appeared in front of Ace and Sabo, saying, Ace, Sabo, come with me. And Ace has Ace and Sabo confronting over a piece of meat, saying, sure. Looking on both their shoulders and just appeared around Baltigo, saying, alright, you two, this is my dad Dragon. This point Luffy's is like 22 years old at this point. This is like a year before the beginning of the story. He says, alright, it's my dad Dragon. What you know? They'd already be out at sea. So he's 5 years older than them, so no, because he's 22, they would be, no, he's 3 years older than them, not 5, 3 years older than them. I messed up Shanks' age. I messed up Luffy's age when he met Shanks. He'd be 13, not 15. So yeah, he's 3 years older than them. So yeah, when they're 17, Luffy would be 20. So when they're 15, we'll go when Luffy is 18, I guess. Yeah, when Luffy's 18, he brings Ace and Sabo to Baltigo. So yeah, and he basically tells Sabo that you should join them instead because you're more on their line, not instead of being a pirate. Sabo hears our ideals. Sabo's like, oh yeah, I'll join. Ace is like, what about me? He's like, train here until you find your goal. Ace is like, okay, cool. And Luffy just kind of stayed there till he turned 23. But as soon as Ace turned 17, Luffy brought him back to the East Blue, while Sabo just became a revolutionary in the entirety. So yeah. Luffy ends up kind of flying a dragon banner on the side of his ship while having his own Jolly Roger at the same time. Jolly Rogers, like the crossbones, the bones at the end of it kind of emit smoke or emit ash. Well, then the mouth of Luffy, like Luffy's like smiling mouth, emits flames. And then we have Luffy's eye. One of his eyes is straight up just like glowing blue. So yeah, a very weird Jolly Roger in some people's eyes, but it's a cool one to Luffy. Luffy's now back in the East to restart his journey and gather a whole new crew, thinking that he should start from the beginning to find one. First person to join. Well, first he finds Alvida's crew actually, and saves Kobe from them. He sort of just walk around the boat and says, everyone here's pretty weak. Like someone will swing at him, Luffy just shoves his shoulder into their hip and then throws them over him without him looking up from his manual. Someone attacks with the sword, he punches them in the face, grabs their sword, cuts down everyone in his way. Then he's done, he already wiped out the whole majority of Alvida's crew, and then when Alvida attacked him, he just did a very quick palm strike, sending her flying to, the same island where she had her devil fruit. Luffy saw Kobe and was like, you're not really a threat, are you? Kobe shook his head no, and Luffy ended up picking up the straw hat, and Luffy in this one is African American, or he's black, so Luffy in this one does have dreadlocks, kind of like Che from, the original story. So Luffy took his straw hat off, and then told Kobe, hop aboard. He'll bring him to an island, or at least one wherever he pleases. That Leo let down a ladder, so Kobe climbs it up, and Luffy just teleports to where Kobe is, which is the deck. So, yeah. So, Luffy ends up bringing Kobe to Shelltown, and it's a relatively chill arc, for the most part, until Luffy finds Zoro. So, yeah. So, Luffy ends up walking to Zoro. Before Zoro can say anything, Luffy says, how about this? Well, since I'm a Master Swordsman, you're a Master Swordsman. I want to have a fight. If I win, you join my crew. I'm on a search to discover the secrets of the world and free it at the same time. And you can do whatever you want, and I'll help you, but still, you follow me on my adventure. Zoro nods, saying, sure, why not? But Luffy just sort of slashed the air, or ended up slashing his chest, and immediately Zoro's strengths were broken. Zoro's thanking him, and Luffy's chest healed immediately. So yeah, Luffy just used Ilios on his chest and the flames healed. Luffy says, you're missing your swords. They inside? Zoro nods. Luffy just walks to the door of like Morgan's base as he holds out his hands, and red string just comes off his whole arm. And, well, he wraps everyone in the base as Zoro walks up, grabs his swords, and Zoro tells Luffy, when he's seen, only bad Marine here is Morgan. Luffy says, how bad? And Zoro says, because he killed his own Marines for light insubordination, like they don't want to build a statue of him. Luffy says, oh, you say that, as he ends up twitching his finger, and everyone scream in horror as they hear Morgan's body be diced to pieces. Luffy ends up tracking his string into his hand, as he then walks to Leo, and then we'll just tells Leo that, just prepare a room for Zoro, or at least have like a tag made ready for Zoro's room. Leo would do so as Luffy ended up opening his mouth, somebody saying like, oh, Ateru. As he just opens his mouth, pulls out the katana, and says, Zoro, would you prefer a katana or an axe? Zoro says, whatever that is, give me your most powerful. Says, oh, the most powerful. Okay. Pulls out two axes, saying, these are ace gear. They're very strong axes. Luffy then immediately prepared for Zoro as soon as Zoro said start. As soon as Luffy hit him, a lightning bolt followed, sending Zoro flying into the ground unconscious. Luffy just says, I win. So yeah. He put his axes back in his mouth, picked up Zoro, and walked all the way to Leo, throwing Zoro into his own into his designated room. And the room is probably the size of a small loft, so Zoro has his own space to train and everything. So yeah. So Zoro ended up waking up as about to dock at Orangetown. And at Orangetown, well, Nami sees a giant boat docking, so does Buggy, and they see the Jolly Roger. Immediately, Nami and Buggy focus on the fact Luffy has been associated with the revolutionaries, that he's applying them tech. Point where Luffy has been considered the revolutionary Vegapunk, or the revolutionary's personal Vegapunk. The Marines have not gotten their hands on Luffy's tech, therefore they don't know how dangerous it is. So Luffy doesn't have a bounty, but he has a very big reputation. Luffy has a bounty of 0, but he's wanted dead or alive still. His one poster says like 0 berries, or it says 0 berries, special reward, dead or alive, or wanted only alive, or it says 0 berries, special reward, wanted only alive. And there's a picture of Luffy, and behind him is Jolly Roger. So yeah. So it's like a hand-drawn picture of Luffy, but then the Jolly Roger is like a picture of his Jolly Roger. So yeah. So this Buggy's crew is kind of panicking at the fact that they're meeting someone so revolutionary. And since Luffy had docked, Zoro stepped out of his room. And Zoro actually had gotten to see Luffy's sword skill while Luffy was just training for fun. In fact, Luffy doesn't need to train. But Buggy's crew kind of runs to the dock, demanding Luffy hand over a ship because they outnumber him. Luffy says, no one really outnumbers me. As he reaches onto his back, pulling off, kind of just a crossbone, throwing it right down at all the guys, making a darn explosion, and sending them all flying away. Luffy then jumped down, as he clasped his hands together, making a bit of blue energy come around him, and immediately, a gigantic, tiger with a blue aura emitting from his eyes, his mouth, and any other visible orifice, would begin chasing down everyone of Buggy's crew. And this tiger is probably about the size of a building. It's the king of the forest. So yeah, Luffy kind of has it at the bottom of his boat for fun. Like, say for example, he's we demand you hand over your ship. Luffy says, and I demand you meet my tiger. Have fun. So that's kind of what he does. Like, you demand my ship. I demand you meet the pet of the boat. So yeah. So after Buggy's crew is basically just destroyed by this giant tiger. Then eventually the tiger begins climbing the building, about to get Buggy. Buggy, Kabaji, Moji, and Richie just end up retreating from the giant tiger, until they're met by Nami, who just jumps and whacks Buggy in the face with her staff, knocking him out. And then eventually Kabuji would run into Zoro, who cut him down in just one go. And Mochi finds Luffy. Knowing he's been knocked out, he just lays on the ground, saying, "I'm asleep." And Richie just lays dead. Luffy says, "Good choice. You guys can handle my hits, even if I held back all my power." So, yeah. We're going to Nami asking me who they are, and Luffy simply says, "Oh, well, I'm guessing you know me from that, so no introduction needed." That's Zoro. Nami's nods, saying, "Fair point. Who are you?" Zoro says, "I'm his vice captain. I'm Roronoa Zoro." Nami actually looks at Luffy, saying, "How long are you in the East Blue for?" Luffy just says, "Till I'm finished with it. Why?" And Nami has confidence in Luffy beating Arlong, so she asks him, like, "On your way out or now, whenever you can, please do so-and-so in Kokoyashi." Luffy just says, since he's the son of Dragon, he has a firm belief in freedom, he'll do that. Nami almost teared up, thinking Luffy, as she climbs aboard, and Luffy then sails all the way to, Short Village. But Luffy went from Shelltown to Orangetown in a matter of like 2 hours or so. So yeah, his ship sails really fast. He gets to Short Village roughly pretty late though, like they detoured to hunt a Sea King. So yeah, or Luffy detoured. Leo just followed him. So yeah. But at Short Village, they arrive there pretty early in the morning, and Luffy's is relaxing. Luffy's just relaxing until everyone wakes up and they see the giant ship. As soon as everyone try to board it, though, immediately Luffy's giant tiger would scare everyone off and kind of just guard it. So yeah. Then if tiger was almost bypassed. Well, a bear falls out and just growls. So yeah. So with this, Luffy has just two gigantic animals guarding him. So yeah. But Luffy ends up looking up down at the crowd that's gathered on the ship, and then he points out one guy, saying, "Hey, you look familiar. Is your name Usopp?" Immediately everyone's like, Usopp? How do you know him? How do you know the pirate? He says, wait. I've never met you. How do you know me? Luffy says, it was brief, but I met your dad and he was drunk and blabbering about a son, about near my age. But you're pretty young. How old are you? Still a teenager? Luffy just jumps off the boat. Luffy says, "Yeah, I'm 17. He says, I'm 23. I'm 6 years older than you." He pats Usopp on the back. He looks around, then immediately looks at Kuro, saying, Why is a pirate here?" Everyone's frozen looking at Clauder, saying, "Well, that's Clauder. He's not a pirate." He says, No, he's black at Kuro, smartest man in the East Blue." Everyone just froze, saying, "Heh?" He says, "Yeah, the revolutionaries had a rap sheet on him. They wanted to find as much people they could, and he was on the list. But he was supposedly executed a few years ago." "Didn't tell me you faked it, did you?" "Well, on your crew, you do have a guy specialized in hypnosis." Immediately, Kuro just put on claw, took off Luffy's head immediately as fast as he could. Only have Luffy grab his hand and say, "You move really slow." Luffy held his hand out as he just transformed his hand into just, a new unk. As he gave himself claws and says, Here's how claws should work." He flashed out on Kuro, removing his whole entire arm and making a giant cut across his chest. Kuro coughed up blood, as Luffy ended up cauterizing the wounds, saying, that should be all you need." So yeah. He looked at Usopp, saying, "How'd you like to join a real warrior of the sea and meet your dad along the way?" Usopp just nodded, saying he'll do it. And he was like, "Good. Yeah, also, Kuro's here, his crew probably isn't that far behind." Luffy jumps up on his mast and put on these goggles as he's twisting the lenses and says, "Bullseye." He immediately pulled a tater out of his mouth, charged up a ball of fire on the tip of the sword, and fired it clean through the back of the Black Cat pirate ship, making it sink. Then he removed the goggles, saying, "Usopp, you a sniper?" He says, "I have a slingshot." Luffy says, "Give me it." Usopp gave him a slingshot, and Luffy came back from his workshop around 45 seconds later, holding a very much enhanced Kabuto, saying, "Here you go, and have these goggles." They zoom in, and if I've seen the creature, there's a bit of info about it. Kind of like a video game pop up screen. Like you know how in God of War there's has like a whole journal on like different creatures or foes he's met. Like if someone look at a creature and Luffy's seen it a decent amount of times, it'll be like a whole like picture of it from Luffy's first encounter of it, then details the like his weak points. Here's where its organs are. Like humans, Luffy there's like pointed out weaknesses of it. So yeah. And a very rare chance that Luffy finds a devil fruit user, and then he finds the next user of the devil fruit. He likely has the weaknesses of the fruit installed in the goggles. So yeah, these goggles are basically instant hacks for someone like Usopp. So yeah. So he stays in maybe in this town in certain village maybe like a day after that. And as a gift, they want to give him the Mary. And he says, sure, we'll use it as a backup ship. So yeah. But if we just picked up the Mary, he picked up the Mary with just both hands and loaded it in the back of Leo. And also, Luffy could lift up a 42-foot ship, which is with minimal difficulty. He says if it wasn't because of the proportions, he could have done it with one hand. It would have just been really, really hard to balance it though. So yeah. Next up would be the Bratier arc. The Bratier, well, it's pretty simple actually. Well, when Sanji kind of saw like the Jolly Roger, he just froze. As in Luffy's in big trouble, and Full Body had saw the big trouble walk in. As Luffy arrived at the same time as Full Body did, or as Full Body being starting trouble. Body stood up saying, "Huh, you're Monkey D. Luffy, son of Dragon, right?" Luffy ended up saying, "Yeah, who are you? Some nobody marine?" Everyone's off to Full Body as soon as Full Body went in for a punch, saying, "Shut up, you're idiot with a zero berry bounty." Immediately, Luffy just ended up having just a giant scythe impale Full Body's arm, saying, "Apparently, you're a nobody marine that does your research. I have a zero berry bounty, the fact that I have no fleets to the government, but my mind is the most dangerous thing about me." He pushed Full Body off. Full Body's arm was almost basically cut in half. Full Body yelled as Luffy just quickly stitched it up, saying, "See, all better. Now fuck off." Full Body stood up and just ran off as fast as he could, screaming in pain at his hand. Luffy looked at the food, saying, "Oh, this is good." He said no Full Body's date as he just winked at her, and Luffy ended up taking Full Body's date. So yeah. Alright, so Luffy ended up stealing Full Body's date, and Luffy ended up telling Sanji, that he's heard about, or from the eyebrows, he can guess who Sanji's family is. Sanji just looked at Luffy and immediately just froze. Luffy winked at, saying he would never spoil the new family he made here. He has a decent amount of respect for someone who'd left that nation. But he will say one thing. Sanji is almost certainly superhuman, no matter how he views it. It's likely delayed. Sanji just froze, trying to say, whatever, and he walks to the back. Then Gimli walked in, begging for food. Luffy's new date would leave, saying, Full Body was kind of my ride, and I need my own ship to leave. Luffy just walked over his boat, saying, who is really willing to escort her back to so-and-so island? And someone does this. So, yeah. Before they do go, though, Luffy ended up kind of grabbing the boat, and then immediately just firing it off at insane speeds. So, yeah. And with this, well, Luffy ended up telling Sanji that Sanji should come onto his boat while he patches up Gin. Luffy brings Sanji and Gin to the medbay, patches up Gin and gives him food, and looks at Sanji's body. He kind of fills it up, feels him, saying, "Yeah, your body feels human." But then we get here. That he'd been looking at Sanji's DNA, saying, it's different. Some of it is patterned. Some of it looks human, some of it looks enhanced. This shocked Sanji, saying, "You're right, it's delayed." He says, "Damn right, isn't tapping a button, and Sanji's whole body, or kind of basically lit on fire. The flame comes out, saying, "See, you're fine. I just had to give you a small kickstart." Sanji says, "What do you mean kickstart?" Luffy says, "I move very fast, but you're good now. You get out." And Gin, when she's eating, you get out too. Gin just nods, and yeah. So as Luffy just got off Leo, and Gin was all fixed up. Luffy ended up throwing Gin some new tonfa. That seemed pretty well rounded, and everything. So yeah, Sanji looking at Luffy's body up and down, a bit confused, until some guy looked at Luffy, saying, "You're a doctor, right?" Luffy says, "Define doctor. I have a doctorate, and I'm also a doctor. So just come here. What do you want?" And immediately we see Johnny holding Yosuke, saying, "Fix him." He says, "Oh, simple, scurvy." He walked inside, grabbed an orange, and squeezed it into Yosuke's mouth, saying, "Do that like 10 times. He'll be fine for a bit." Johnny froze, saying, "He needed oranges." He nodded, saying, "Yep, oranges." He walked inside, and immediately John just bought just 10 oranges and squeezed them into Yosuke's mouth. So yeah, Luffy just patched up all the bleeding that happened in his mouth as well, giving him basically just dentures. So yeah. But she Zoro recognized him as well, and Luffy's like, "Well, if you know them, I'm willing to let them onto my ship." And yeah. And Sanji simply told Luffy that he doesn't feel right now that his powers have truly kicked in, and that he thinks he'd be endangering his ship. He'll be endangering Bratier, so he wants to endanger someone else, and he'll join Luffy for that. Luffy chuckles, saying, as long as he exists, no one is a danger to him. Which just made everyone chuckle that he had that much arrogance. But it's not arrogance if it's the truth. So yeah. So as Gin's just hanging out, talking to Zeph, we see Krieg's crew arrive. They arrive for the sake of plot. So yeah. As they arrive, Krieg would see Gin and is a bit annoyed, saying, "Gin, you found a treasure trove of food and glory and didn't bother telling us. What good of a crewmate are you?" Who says, "Well, thing is, he's my crewmate, not yours. So get lost." Krieg just put a gun on Luffy's head and shot him, only for it to bounce off Luffy's head. And Luffy just said, "It's pointless to do that." Luffy ended up sending a quilt finger clean through, well, Krieg's stomach, or through his armor, his stomach, armor again, or through his body, and ended up paralyzing him from the waist down. But Luffy ended up stripped all of the armor off of him, and just threw it into the ocean. And then Luffy ended up walking up, grabbing one of Krieg's ships, and just threw it through the other ones, destroying them all in one go. Pearl is ready to fight as he attacks Sanji, but Sanji is simply just taking all the damage, saying, "It doesn't hurt. Weird." Then he then kicked Pearl basically halfway across the East Blue in one go, saying, "The body isn't too bad. Pretty fun." And with this, well, Mihawk had arrived. Mihawk arrived, and Luffy immediately just opened his mouth, pulling out his 2 axes, saying, "This looks like a fun battle." Immediately, Zoro got out as well, saying, This is the greatest swordsman in the world, Dracula Mihawk." And Luffy just says, "He's not an idiot. He knows that." Then the blade on his back is Yoru, a black blade. With this, Mihawk had arrived, and, well, he already knew that Luffy and Zoro wanted to fight, so he fought them both. And tells Luffy that he hasn't fought anyone of his caliber and skill in a really long time. Luffy must have trained hard to have such power. Luffy chuckled, saying, "No, he has a talent that I'll also master a weapon in just a few seconds from him holding it, not even swinging it." Then Mihawk chuckles, Luffy's actually able to steal Yoru from him, as Luffy holds Yoru, and mastered it immediately. So with this, Mihawk and Luffy kind of swapping blades as they fight, and Mihawk coated Luffy's blades in hockey as him and Luffy kept clashing. Luffy having to counter lightning with lightning, and so on and so forth. Into the fight though, Miyako had still beaten Luffy, but Miyako broke a sweat and even had a few small scratches. He took Yoru back, as Zoro was already on the ground defeated from taking one Yoru slash. So yeah. Luffy ended up putting his axes back, picked up Zoro, stitched him up, then kind of cauterized the wound shut, and they now head to Kokoyashi with Sanji and Gin joining them, but Johnny Yosuke also joining them as well. So yeah. The roles. Luffy, he's the captain, the doctor, every role, he suits it. There's Leo, the ship. He pulls them around everywhere. There's Zoro, the vice captain, Nami the navigator, Usopp the sniper, Sanji the cook, and Gin just does his stuff. Johnny and Yosuke, they gather food via fishing, hunting, etc. And yeah. Now, as they end up getting near Kokoyashi, they find Momo, the giant sea cow. But Luffy ended up just talking to it, and eventually just says, how about this? I give you a place to sleep in my ship. It's a pretty big place, and I already have to have two giant animals asleep in here. And Momo agreed. Luffy's being nice to him, he'll take it. So yeah. Pause. Yeah, Momo was like 113 feet, and I believe it'd be length. So for length and width, Momo can fit comfortably inside Leo. So yeah. Luffy ended up creating a small hangar for Momo full of water, and Momo just sleeps in there. So yeah. Also do like thump the inside once, and then he'll get food. So yeah. And Momo ends up pulling around Leo for fun now. So yeah, that's Momo's whole job, is just pulling around Leo. And then Luffy designs like a Kure burst for him. Also designs a lot of cannons for him. So yeah, Leo's more like a battleship now, while Momo is their main transportation, or the way of moving around the ocean. So yeah. And Luffy ended up throwing Nami a staff, saying that this is something that Usopp had the idea for. Luffy just made it. Or Usopp made the blueprints, Luffy made it happen. Nami ended up throwing it around. Actually, even in the video pamphlet on it, saying, "Ooh, really easy to understand. Pretty powerful." He says, "Yep. And with the training I've given you, you may be able to take Arlong. But in case you can't, take this." He snapped as Luffy ended up falling to his knees, panting and sweating a bit, saying, "I'm gonna go take a nap." As ends up walking to his bed and falling asleep. Nami's hair suddenly ended up lighting a gold color, and Leo says, "Oh, he did that to you? He shared his power? He must like you." Nami says, How long will it last?" Leo says, "It may have pass that quickly. It may last the whole day." And Nami just says she's gonna handle this on her own. But Sanji says, "Sorry, it's against my good to let that happen." That Sarai's reminds Luffy unite and defeat Arlong's crew pretty easily. Nami herself fought Arlong, able to use Kimyo levels of strength, so she's able to somewhat counter Arlong's. I heard Arlong had like a straight up fist fight, and she was beating him. So yeah. But eventually she used her giant lightning bolts to turn Arlong into ash, and Hachan heard about Momo, and simply just says, he's the only one that, because Momo's kind of like his pet, and he treats Momo nice, so he'd like to be with him. And they're like, "Okay, cool, just don't cause any trouble." And Nami's like, "Yeah, you weren't too bad, you were just annoying, so I'll take it." So, yeah. Hachan is spared, and he is Sanji's sous chef. So, yeah. This Luffy woke up at kind of like mid 3-day celebration, and celebrating with everyone else. So, yeah. But, well, they think he's celebrating, but in reality, he's tearing out Arlong Park and rebuilding it as an actual park. By the time he's done, it is just a complete amusement park. So, yeah. So everyone kind of just goes around being just like having fun in, well, in Kokoyashi Park, or Bellamere Park, as that's what the sign says. And Nami kind of ended up crying that Luffy did that for her, but it's fun. And Luffy ended up asking Nami, how was it to wield that power? Nami says she felt superior to every single person. It was amazing. Luffy says, "Yeah, I know. Now imagine that feeling. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54. It leaves us, imagine that feeling, but 54 times over. That's how I feel every single time I wake up. Not me, it's just like, you must feel like a god. He says, I don't feel like it, I am one. As he just chuckles. So yeah. But I mean, hugging Luffy, thanking him for the power to save her town. And Luffy just smiles, telling her it's no problem. With this, Luffy, Zoro, Johnny, Yosuke, Usopp, Sanji, Gin, Leo, Momu, Hachan, they leave. And they head to Logtown. This arc, they see Buggy and Alvida again. But when Buggy wanted the fade, immediately Luffy just beat him, and Buggy's like, Straw Hat, I want my revenge. Luffy says, you can try to have the revenge, you're just going to get hurt really bad. Buggy doing that Luffy as fast as he could. Only Luffy pick him up with one hand and just judo slam him onto the ground as hard as he could, making a gigantic crater. Then Luffy proceeded to come out and Buggy and rapidly punch him in the face as fast and as hard as he could, until Buggy was just like, Uncle. He was like, good. Then all Vito sunk up behind him, trying to hit him in the face, hit him back in the head with a Kanabo. The Kanabo just bent around his head. He stood up, grabbed the Kanabo, bent it back to normal. This smacked Vito through a building. She's questioning how he hit him, how he hit her. But he says, he coded in energy. He didn't hit her. Life did. Then he set the Kanabo to the ground and ended up walking away. Zoro got his 3 new swords, by the way. So, yeah. Although Zoro fights with Luffy basically every day to train, the fact that Luffy's a confirmed master, like in the middle of Luffy and Mihawk's fight, Mihawk says, if Luffy had a sword, he'd be the most dangerous opponent he's ever faced in a long time. That's counting Shanks. Luffy's sword skill scares Mihawk. So, yeah, Zoro is definitely getting stronger with Luffy's help. But because this would include East Blue, and the fact that Luffy can handle Smoker in no time, that'd be a no diff, because Luffy can control Ash and push him away. This arc ends here. Or the saga ends here. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like and subscribe for another Ordeal What If. And, adios.